In July 2001, I met a young man from Iraq. His name was Ibrahim. We quickly struck up a conversation. He told me he was a Muslim and I replied that I was a Christian. I was worried that being a Christian would be a problem, but I was wrong. I was happy to be wrong. It was interesting that I didn't want to become a Muslim and he didn't try to convert me. Although I considered Muslims to be an exotic group, I was interested in learning more about Islam. It was a good opportunity to learn more. I realized that I had a man in front of me who could teach me a lot about Islam and I plucked up the courage to ask him to do so. That was my first encounter with Islam. In fact, my first step. After a while we parted and I didn't see him again, but the seed had been planted. I remember reading an interview with Muhammad Ali Silhavi, an old Czech Muslim, and looking forward to getting his address and writing him a letter. Then came September 11th. Because of the political climate, I thought it wasn't the right time to contact Mr. Silhavi. I found myself at a loss. 2 months later, I found the courage to write a long letter to Mr. Silhavi. Sometime later he replied and sent a package containing Islamic literature and pamphlets. He told me that he had informed the Islamic Foundation in Prague about me and asked them to send me a translation of the Quran. That was my start. Step by step, I learned that Islam is not a militant religion, but rather a religion of peace. My questions were answered. Because of certain circumstances, it wasn't until 3 years later that I decided to visit Mr. Silhavi. He showed a lot of patience while explaining different subjects to me and suggested that I visit the mosque in Brno, Czech Republic. When I went to the Brno mosque, I was afraid of being seen as a stranger, an intruder. I was very surprised to find just the opposite. I met K and L, who were the first people to help me. Of course, I met other brothers who welcomed me as warmly as possible. I started researching all aspects of Islam and discovered how understandable and logical Islam is. Gradually I began to learn how to pray and today I have mastered prayer without any problems, even in Arabic. I gave up a bad habit that wasn't compatible with Islam. I was a gambler, and a good one. It was a difficult battle with myself, but with God's help, I won. If I ever doubted my interest in Islam or whether I could live as a Muslim, I now know that my interest is permanent and I consider myself one of them. It may seem very simple, but with God's help I won this internal battle. I thought carefully before deciding to embrace Islam for good. To be honest, throughout 2003 and the beginning of 2004, I wasn't entirely sure how I would handle it. I finally made up my mind. I'm no longer that young man from the early 1990s. That's why today I'm very happy to be a Muslim. I finally feel free. I still have my imperfections, but I'm trying to correct myself. I believe that God will help me. Now, listen to what I want to say and I consider it my obligation. I believe in my heart and I declare by my word that there is no God but God and that Muhammad is his messenger.